right, then let's get into some news, bro. I hopefully these are some good headlines. I'm gonna start off with something very interesting. This is off of the back of the recent subway shootings, and pretty much there was other shootings involved in New York City. So this is from Politico. I thought Black Lives Mattered. Mayor Eric Adams slams the activist movement over New York City crime. When asked how his administration will get a handle on an uptick in shootings, Mayor Eric Adams criticized the Black Lives Matter movement Wednesday for failing to mount large-scale protests against ongoing gun violence. Adams has made crime the signature issue of both his campaign and administration, but is grappling with dramatic rise in violent incidents since the start of his mayoralty. Major crimes are up 44% compared to last year, according to New York PD statistics from earlier this month, and shootings, which have already doubled over 2019, rose another 14% over the last year. To make his focus clear, the mayor has traveled to crime scenes across the 5 boroughs to talk with victims and hold press conferences. So I'm just going to quickly play the clip in which Mayor Adams blasts Black Lives Matters. And hopefully there's no commercials. And of course, I get slammed with the commercials. It's all right.
To lowering the carbon emissions intensity of their operations? Because we believe in actions, not just words.
These goddamn
As the NYPD was searching for the suspect in the subway shooting yesterday, there were more than a dozen shootings in the city last night. And not to mention the shootings that we've seen recently of young, innocent people, some older as well, being shot on the streets of New York. How do you get a handle on this crime in this city, Mr. Mayor?
By being consistent with our message. Here's my question that I put out to the city. Hey, I thought Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Where are all those who stated Black Lives Matter? Then go do an analysis of who was killed or shot last night. I was up all night speaking to my commanders in the Bronx, in Brooklyn. The victims were Black. Many of the shooters were Black. So I asked the question that was asking me when I was a child. It's 10 a.m., 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Why are 16, 17, and 18-year-olds out in our streets armed with guns 12, 1 o'clock at night? When are we going to start asking these serious questions? If Black Lives Matters, then the thousands of people I saw on the street when Floyd was murdered should be on the street right now stating that the lives of these Black children that are dying every night matters. We can't be hypocrites.
For me,
yeah, I saw that, and I was in agreement.
I like him.
I saw that, and one of the things I was in agreement with him on that. Some things he tripping with, but that I saw, and I was like, "Yep, that makes sense to me." Because when I was, and I didn't see the clip, but I was reading it, and I read it with that same energy that he just spoke with. Saying like, and I remember that commercial, it's 10 p.m. where your children, yep. Like you said, it's 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, and you got 16, 17, and 18-year-olds outside, committing acts of violence and shit. And yeah, everybody said Black Lives Matter when it's a white police officer on a Black man, but what about the Black on Black and the brown on Black? That shit don't matter anymore. When it's us doing it to us, it don't matter. Like, the fuck out of here. He right, you know what I mean? And they should be marching in the streets. It's another bigger issue with all the gun reform and all that bullshit. But as far as the Black Lives Matter, yeah, I like that.
I agree with him about the Black Lives Matter thing. But protest who? Protest what? You can protest a government because they got to make decisions based off of people. You can protest that shit, but you can't protest these individuals. The problem is that, Black, America needs to come to realize is that we need to start holding people accountable within the community and say, listen, if you're not going to take care of these kids, raise these kids, guys, don't fucking have them. Don't fucking have them.
Well, I guess...
I'm sorry, hold on. Get these dumb little chicks that's having these kids, and this victim mentality of like, oh well, she accidentally got pregnant. Let's put her on welfare. Let's put her on social on the system, and these kids will be all right. No, they don't turn out all right. The statistics have the data is in. 40 years of data is in.
Well, that's a great message going forward. What is the solution you propose now, though? Mm-hmm. These people are here. What do you propose now that
they're here?
That they here.
You're not gonna like my proposal.
Go ahead. Not gonna like
my proposal. Listen. I'm sorry, but clean sweep.
Well, what does that mean? What's a clean sweep? Yeah, you talking about executing cats?
Hey, listen. That means no holds barred. You found on the street. Hold up. You found in the street. 16, 17, 18, 20, whatever the case is, you armed, you're going to prison. All right? You're going to prison. If you kill somebody, death penalty. I'm tired of, we're always trying to save everybody. That's not meant to be saved. I was in South Carolina, right? Last week for my break. And we're in South Carolina. A dude, went to rob a store. He's a career criminal. Robbed a convenience store. The woman at the convenience store did not know the combination to the safe. On camera, shot her in the face, killed her. All right? Shot her in the face, killed her. Now, granted, South Carolina has the death penalty. So now it's pretty much between death by firing squad or old Sparky. All right? The electric chair. They're giving dude an opportunity to sue the state to say that death by fire squad or by electric chair is inhumane. But this is the same dude that shot a woman for not knowing the combination to a safe in the face and took her away from her family, her friends, just ended her life. I'm done with having empathy for thugs and criminals because of their skin complexion. Fuck that. You know that you wouldn't want that shit to happen to you. You know that shit. You wouldn't want that shit to happen to your family. And if you're okay with doing that to others, fuck you.
Oh, shit. Chime in, brother.
I don't think that's about being empathetic. You got to realize that, once again, as I always say, this is America, and unfortunately, we got some dumbass laws on the books, and we got some.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying.
Some crazy just like in Jersey where we live, we got some crazy shit that protects the criminal and not the
victim
person. Yeah, not the victim. So it's not about rounding them up. And I think that the Black Lives Matter should be protesting. I think they should be protesting in the neighborhoods where this shit is happening and let motherfuckers know that, yo, guess what? That see something, say something, we about that shit now. All that thing about snitching, we ain't snitching because we ain't doing crimes with you. So I think that shit protesting would do something. If the community decided that they had enough, that shit could change. But the community has to decide that, yo, y'all not doing this shit in our community no more. Fuck that. Yes, I'm telling, nigga. I know you got a gun. I saw you walk in the store with it. I'm getting ready to dry snitch on your ass. I'm telling. You know what I mean? People don't want to tell because they're fearful for their own lives. But at the end of the day, you're living in fucking fear instead of just saying, you know what? I can tell. Nobody can know that I told, or I can live in fear. Like, the fuck? I'm not going to sit here living in fear that my kids can't go to school. They can't get on the subway. They can't go to the playground. They can't even go to the fucking supermarket without risk of losing their lives by a fucking bullet, stray or intentional. So no, I think that the protesting could matter, but I think like you got to change a lot of laws on the books. You know that the system is set up in a way that
that's what I'm
revolving shit, but you need to have that.
But that's what I'm saying is that the laws do need to change. And when it comes to this shit, we need a zero tolerance policy for it. The whole thing is you tolerate that shit, it will be allowed. And that's the thing. It's been allowed for so long. For so long, it's been allowed. It's kind of like how, one time I was doing some boxing with my son. I was, working some mitt work with him and this and that. Yeah, I said, dude, you got to keep your guard up. You keep getting you keep getting lazy and dropping your guard. What if you drop your guard and somebody, you get into a situation at school, somebody pop you in the mouth. My son says to me with a straight face, Daddy, this is zero tolerance policy at school on fighting. All right. Like, he knows that at 11. Like, oh, even if I can fight, we're not supposed to fight. Like, there's no room for this. All right. But yet, in the hood, it's like, oh, well, who started it? Or who threw the first punch? Or this, that, and the other. Regardless of whatever the scenario is. It's not a matter of like just self-defense. It's just like, oh, well, you do the first punch. Okay, we're going to give you 2 days suspension and then send you right back to norm. No, zero tolerance. Don't allow this shit. Don't make room for it.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, yeah, and I see that, and I say you need to have something great because, like I'm saying, not too long ago, just last week it was, or 2 weeks ago at the American Dream Mall where I take my kids.
Yeah, wasn't there a shooting there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can't take your kids no fucking way. So fuck that. I'm about telling on niggas. Nah, man, I know what got done, bro. Like, fuck out of here. Your shit ain't legal.
That was insane. Yeah, bro. Yeah, we were just talking about the American
My gun is legal. So if your gun ain't legal, nigga, I'm telling my shit legal. Your shit ain't what?
Yeah, man. What? So let me just read a statement. So there's a statement here from the Black Lives Matter New York chapter. Apparently there's some history since Mayor Adams been appointed mayor of New York City. He's been clashing with the New York Black Lives Matter New York City chapter over their policing policies because there's been speculation whether or not Adams, due to the skyrocketing crimes, if he's going to adopt some of the Giuliani, Bloomberg tactics of policing in New York. So the co-founder of the Black Lives Matter chapter, his name is Hawk Newsom, and he says, in response to Mayor Adams' report or his statements on this news channel, he says he wants us to fight in the newspapers to distract people from the real issues. The mayor is great at press conference. He's really good at making statements, but he lacks efficiency and the ability to lead our city in a safer direction. So my question to you guys. All right. So I don't know.
I hate.
Oh, well, let me finish this. So my question to you guys, obviously, I don't know how well you guys are aware of New York City policing back in the day with stop and frisk and all of that. What do you suggest Mayor Adams do without, irritating or provoking those activists who says that sort of policing was harassment?
I'm gonna be honest with you and say, fuck them activists. He got to do whatever he can. Everything's on the table right now. Like, at the end of the day, everything's on the table right now, bro. Like, the city's not fucking safe. You know what I mean? So everything's on the table. We're looking at all programs that came through that we had before. Maybe we got to manipulate the program, change something, cut the tail off, grow the head out deeper, trim some of the nails down. But whatever the fuck we got to do, everything's on the table right now. Because the other dude, Newsom, he ain't got no suggestions. He just wanted like one of the things that Mayor Adams do know, that the Black Lives Matter movement got a lot of money pumped into it. Why y'all not out here giving programs to these fucking to Brooklyn and the Bronx? You know where the trouble areas are. We like, that's the thing. Like, where this shit is happening.
Yeah. Well, they're too busy buying $6.5 million homes.
Yeah, like, where it's happening and where the target audience is. Now, why can't you go in there and target the audience? But you don't want the police to target the audience.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I think that's the concern that these activists has, is just like that sort of profiling, and like you said, they know the audience, so it's just like Mayor Adams is having to walk that fine line of not revisiting those sort of anti constitutional rights that some people might have, and then and obviously trying to protect his citizens. So I don't know. I would hate to have his job right about now. Schubert, you had one last statement.
I would hate to have that job.
I mean, listen, my whole thing is stop and frisk. I'm not opposed to it if it's in the circumstance. So, if you're talking about like, hey, it's 11 something at night or 12 something at night, and there's a 16-year-old on the street, and you talking about stop and frisk, go for it. Go for it.
That's
Why
what I'm saying.
like 16-year-old in the street? in those hours.
Bruh.
You know what I mean? Like if you're talking about 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, headed to church, okay, I can see your issue. But if it's a 16-year-old kid, a young kid on the street at 11, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, that motherfucker ain't going to Bible study.
Yeah.
All right, so miss me with that bullshit. You know?
Yeah. Yo, to be honest, I was surprised to hear you guys' responses this morning. I didn't know you guys were going to lean with this, man. You guys are ruling with an iron fist.
To my response?
Nah, man, that's not, like at the end of the day, like, listen, bro, everything got to be on the table when you're trying to talk about city safety. You know what I mean?
And here's my thing, right? If y'all want to protest, 100-man march, all this, that, and the other, when one nigga dies by the hands of a cop. But 20 motherfuckers died last night, silence.
Or 20 shootings. Yeah, that's
just
the
like,
shit. Yeah.
That's the shit that is the hypocrisy. It's like, yo, y'all ready to go to bat over a dude that was in Minnesota that had a warrant and an arrest and this, that, and the other. Granted, I get the fact that this bitch, did some foul shit, shot him with a gun instead of with a taser. But at the end of the day, he put himself in the line of fire. But when y'all see a bunch of niggas out here acting like him, y'all got nothing to say. Oh, you trying to distract from the real issue. What is the real issue?
Yeah.
What is the real issue?
It's that woke racism that John McCorder pointed out. All right, next news story. Next news story. Hey, Smith, I'm so glad you were able to join today because you are a union person. Schubert, I don't know if you had any union ties in the past. So Amazon recently voted in Staten Island to be unionized, and it sparked this sort of resurgence of unions. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. Starbucks prepared to expand workers' benefits that might exclude unionized staff. The CEO, Howard Schultz, argues company could provide better benefits without unionization at forum with U.S. store leaders. Basically, in an all-on forum, the U.S. store leaders this week, Mr. Schultz said he is reviewing the company's benefits to develop an expanded employee benefit package in an effort to better recruit and retain baristas. Mr. Schultz told the store leaders that expanded benefits will help reduce attrition among Starbucks workers, but that those benefits legally can't go to the growing number of stores that have voted to unionize. Federal laws require separately negotiating contracts for union represented workers' pays and benefits, and the companies can't change their compensation unilaterally. This is a statement from him. People who might be voting for a union don't really understand, let alone the dues that are going to be paid. Mr. Schultz referring to separately negotiated benefits in their internal forum, a copy of which was viewed by the Wall Street Journal. Just maybe one more point here. Mr. Schultz said that additional benefits are still being developed and didn't give an exact timeline for when they will be introduced. Starbucks had said a union will create a barrier between workers and the company, and Starbucks itself can best respond to employee needs. So what do we like? I don't have any experience being with a union. I've only known people. The only connection I have with unions are people who are in the teaching profession, like you, Smith, and Henry. So, one, what is your experience with unions? Or in Schubert's case, what's your interpretation of unions? And do you think these entities now being unionized, do you think that's good for the company and good for the consumers? You muted, Smith.
I just realized I was muted. My fault.
I was like,
yeah, I see his lips moving, and I was like, yo, you.
I'm like, Smith, are you having an aneurysm? What's going on?
Well, I forgot what I was saying too. The union, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying that, like, at the end of the day, the union, I like the union because the union can fight for you. I had a situation where DIFUS was called on me for breaking up a fight. And the union sent me a lawyer, and the lawyer was able to take care of all that shit. So I'm team union all the way because, you know, when motherfuckers was trying to take my job away, the union stepped in and made that shit not happen. You know what I mean? And did the research for me. I think that companies need to have unions, especially when they're bigger companies like a Starbucks. I like that Amazon recently got it. They're trying to block it at some other places and shit.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the union allows for the bullshit not to take place. You know what I mean? And the union allowed for like Amazon workers to not have to pee in the bottles. You know what I mean? It allows for Amazon workers to not have to work 3 days, 15 hours, but allows them to work 4 days or 5 days, you know, for 8 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't realize that, and working with Amazon and companies like that, like they'll put you on a three-day shift, but then you're working like 15 or 18 hours and shit, which seems like rather inhumane, and I don't know how you're really doing that. So yeah, I'm for the union. Like I think it's good. That shit worked out for me in the past. I don't like paying into it, but I do understand the benefits that it can have.
Black Zeus, your thoughts on unions in general? Yeah, so, go ahead, sure.
Going with Smith's talking points. One, I understand the emphasis on having representation, you know, to protect your rights as an employee, you know, and keeping it consistent for everybody, where everybody has the same rights, legally speaking, you know, nothing's taken away from them, legally speaking. Where I have to give some pushback is I didn't hear anything wrong about 3 days of 15-hour shifts. That's called a double. My mom did doubles, you know, working at the hospital, you know, when I was a kid all the time, you know, to put food on the table, you know. I did doubles when I did security, where I would literally, because when I did security at the time, you had to wait until you were relieved from duty, meaning the fact of you stayed on until somebody else came to replace you. So there was many times somebody would call out for work at the last minute because it was Friday or whatever the case is, and now I'm stuck working from, you know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock the next morning. You know,
I understand that don't make it right. That don't make it right.
But it didn't, you know. But my whole thing is that if you're talking about 3 days on, and then you're still talking about the other 4 days you're not working.
Oh no, I know, but I'm just.
So it kind of balances out. I mean, if you look at firefighters, they work like 3 days on, 3 days off, or something like that. You know, so I mean, it all depends on what the scenario is. Just to say, like, the hours, you know, I'm pretty sure no one can do like hard labor.
Well, what about
16 hours?
You spoke about that, but I was just saying they're inhumane as far as the timing that they have, because doubles aren't natural, even though people do them. You know what I mean? Doubles aren't for surgeons and shit. Like that shit is not. Doubles aren't for like the stock folks. Like that shit is.
I hear you, but the whole thing
that shit is for a certain level of worker. You know what I mean? So,
I hear you.
And it's easy to take advantage of that certain level of worker, especially when you don't have a union to go to, when you don't have anybody to go to, and we basically could arbitrarily fire you, hire you, do whatever the fuck we want, because you can't go say shit to nobody besides lose your job or possibly
I hear what you're saying.
Get us tied up in the court. But you can't tie yourself up in the court with a fucking $1 billion empire, because you're gonna fucking lose anyway, and you ain't getting.
Yeah, but the double side of that ugly sword is the fact of, if it wasn't for people that are working double shifts and, you know, putting those hours in, society wouldn't run. If everybody was on some old, like, well, nobody works after this many hours or this, that, and the other, the majority of the shit that you get would not fucking work.
Well, I don't think it's that way. I think that the people who are working those jobs need to come to fucking work. You're doing doubles because, like you said, people are fucking calling out. Doubles happen.
Exactly. So the whole
doubles
thing
happen
is,
because
like, so
the people who are working those jobs don't want to work those jobs, so they call it for time because they get
because
burned.
No company wants to pay you overtime.
You know what I mean? Shit.
No company wants to pay you overtime.
I know.
So,
so
the whole thing is, it's not the company that's doing it to you; it's your coworkers doing it to you. Now, that being said, that leads into my biggest point.
It's the company though too.
is the fact of, listen, at the end of the day, the company, no one starts a company. Nobody starts a company to like, oh, I want to give as many people a job as possible. That's not what anybody starts a company for. They start a company to make money. All right, let's be clear. When people say it's my job, it's not your job. It's my job. I hired you. I gave it to you. If I decide to take it from you, or I say, hey, you can't work in my building, in my business, in my entity anymore, I should have that right because it is my company. It's not.
That's why the union is needed. Right
you
there,
know, but
you're a company.
No, because no,
union because you
and
can
this is and this. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. I start a business. I take all the risk of starting that business. Whether it goes up or it fails, I take all the responsibility of that business. I put my entire life into that business. I pay the highest taxes and get no extra benefits than you do. I don't get a special road to drive on. I got to deal with the same traffic you got to deal with. I got to deal with the same cops you got to deal with. And then on top of that, I can't run my own company and say who I want in and out of my house. And then like the laws are in the benefit of that employee who came to me with nothing but their hands out for a job. And I gave them a job and they don't do it to my liking, but there's all the laws are protecting them. Even if they don't do the hours they're supposed to do, if they're like, let's say they got an 8-hour shift, but during that 8-hour shift, you look on camera, during the 8-hour shift, they spent 6 of it bullshitting, but I still had to pay them for every hour because the law says so. Even if I make $100 that day, and that dude is on the clock, and he has $80 of work, I got to pay him $80 while I take home $20 because the law says so. You know what I mean? If my business fails, mind you, if he gets fired, I got to pay unemployment. I got to pay workman's comp. But if my business fails, nobody's going to help me. If I catch him on video stealing $5,000 worth of shit, all right, $5,000 worth of shit on videotape, and he has a paycheck on the books for $200, I got to pay him that $200 and then go fight in court to get my $5,000 of shit back. All the laws are in the favor of the employee, while the employer, who takes the most risk, who is busting their ass to create a business that could fail, as we've seen many businesses have failed, and there is no safety net for you, no Social Security, no unemployment, none of that shit. When you are a business owner, you get no fucking security, no stability, no nothing. You are completely on your own. When you're an employee, the law puts everything in place for you. Social Security, unemployment, workman's comp, so forth and so on. Now you want to add in, now I got to take care of your health. I got to give you paid vacations. I got to do this for you. I got to do that for you. And then you want to give me mediocre work because the average American is fucking mediocre at work. All right. That's why immigrants come here and dominate.
Well, so my bad. Continue. Finish your thoughts.
But my whole point is the fact that these unions come from an entitlement position. And the whole thing is they actually do more damage to the company and to the employees in the long run. They might, there's small parts like, like representation by law and this, that, and the other, they are useful. But if you look at, there was a Twinkie factory back, I can't remember what year, this might have been 10 years ago or more. But there was a Twinkie factory that basically said, listen, people ain't buying Twinkies like they used to. We are struggling. We will give, let's say 20% of y'all a severance package so we can keep 80% of y'all working. The union said, nope, everybody stays on, everybody gets a raise, or nobody get nothing. Guess what? Twinkie factory fucking closed. Everybody was out of a fucking job because the union wasn't being fucking reasonable and understanding how business works.
Yeah, I just pulled up that article. This is from
but without that, so like in the WNBA, the New York Liberty has been fined. I forget how much they were fined exactly, but they were fined because the owner of the Liberty decided that he wanted to fly his players on a private plane, and because the NWA, because the WNBA doesn't have that union like set up like the NBA has, the owner is getting in trouble because the WNBA players have to fly coach. They can't have a leg up on their competition. So even though the owner can pay for a chartered private jet for his players, they still have to fly coach. Otherwise, he gets fined for it because it's not an equal playing field. That's what unions do. They just try to equal the playing field. So like what this Starbucks is saying that they're going to create a barrier between the workers and the company. But at the end of the day, you got this Starbucks store that does this for their employees, and then these other Starbucks stores don't. And then you got people online because the world has gotten so much smaller with this fucking social media. And they're saying, well, wait, the California and Barista, California, the Starbucks is fucking does this. But fucking in Newark, New Jersey, the Starbucks don't do shit. So that's where the problem comes in. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing about that. Here's the thing about that. The California barista may operate differently because you're in California. So much like if you said, well, in Newark, the minimum wage is $15, but the minimum wage in Ohio is $7. You can't say you're going to base your standards on what's in a completely different state that operates completely
different economy.
That's the pay. Yeah, that's the pay.
I'm just saying that I'm using that as an example.
And all the unions, they can't unilaterally talk about their compensation or anything like that. Like that's the part of that you don't understand about the union. Once you become unionized, you can't even have those discussions. But it tells you that in this last bullet, the second to last bullet actually speaks to that point.
Yeah, so like, one thing I would like to point out, to Schubert, you brought up the Twinkie factory situation, and there's an article out on CNBC on the CNBC website where they talked about how the Twinkie situation might have killed the union movement because of obviously Twinkies not necessarily producing well enough, and they needed to make some restructuring.
Adaptations,
they had to adapt, and I guess they didn't want to necessarily adapt, and they had to turn around and lay off 18,000 people. So yeah, a lot of times when people think of unions, yes, it's intended to help employees in regards of compensation and labor practices, but it does undermine how the company operates. And one of the articles I did read in regards to reading up to this, how there are also abuses with union dues, paying into union dues. There was a case out in that made its way up to the Supreme Court, and pretty much there was that SEIU basically was found to be abusing in regards of how they were getting people to pay into the union dues. So but all the great points that you made, Smith, in regards to what it does to help employees and protect employees. Mm-hmm. But interesting stat.
I want to say this too. Now, one thing about with the teachers, you don't have to be in the union.
Correct, and that's I think.
But then the union does nothing for you.
Yeah,
you understand? You don't have to be in the union.
Yeah,
you cannot pay no dues and not be in that shit at all.
Yeah.
But if something goes sour, you don't got no leg to stand on with the union. They ain't gonna come and fight for you.
They're not gonna. Yeah, you're on your own. You're on your. Yeah, you're on an island. Yeah, you're an island on yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
if you're smart and you realize, hey, I'm paying what $100 per union check. I mean, per whatever. What's the dues on average?
It varies. It could vary.
Okay, but let's say it was $50 a month, right? Probably not, but let's say $50 a month. If I've been working there for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and I put that $50 to the side for just in case money, can I get myself a damn good lawyer?
No.
But I think Smith bring up a great point.
You said you want to put this $50 to the side? Hell no, you don't get no damn good lawyer.
You're not getting that.
You must be putting $300 aside per check, bro. But $50? Hell no, you ain't get no good lawyer.
Hold up.
You just said the prices of meat going up, bro. You going to get a good lawyer by putting $50 a check to the side?
Yeah, I got it.
All right.
No, you're not getting a good lawyer for that. You want to get a public defender for that price, bro. You got to get lawyers.
Well, I'm just saying, maybe that's the wrong numbers. I'm just saying the fact.
Yeah, that number is wrong. That's all.
Maybe the numbers are wrong.
Even let's say you're not paying. I've never heard no egregious amount that's being paid to unions. But let's say you even upped it up to $200 a month. that still ain't getting you a good ass lawyer. Like I
I
think
don't know, because listen, my lawyer is, well, he's now up to like $3.50 an hour, but I've had my lawyer
an
since
hour, bro.
An hour.
Look what you said.
You just said you
hold up,
$50 a check for a
Hold up. Y'all think have y'all ever had an attorney?
Yes, bro. We talk our own property.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the whole thing is the fact of, every time I've had to use my attorney, maybe my attorney cost might be at max $2,000. At max $2,000. You could put 2 G's to the side.
Not when you being accused of motherfucking a DIFUS case, bro. Trust me, that shit ain't gonna do it.
But dog, I'm just saying, like
I'm being honest.
I get
you need a lawyer like in my respect, I would say this, because the union lawyer is not just the union lawyer, but he understands education and educational practices and policies. You understand? So
yeah, they specialize in
find
that.
a lawyer that specializes in that. And I'm not going to have to pay a lot of money for. You know what I mean?
And then on top,
he's done cases also.
And that's the thing.
He got a track record because he's done cases because he's the union lawyer. He does it for the school for
you.
And the reason why I was side, like I'm conflicted with the union talk, and Smith bring up a lot of great points, because when it comes to fighting discriminatory practices on the job, these entities, whether they're Starbucks, they're Amazon, or shit, I take it even in the financial industry that I'm in, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, these are huge conglomerates, bro, with billions of dollars behind them. Yo ass, like, you need $1 million type of attorneys who had to fight that battle. And a lot of times it's the union attorney dues, like the dues that you're paying into the dues that you're paying into the union get you those type of attorneys when something goes south. If you on the island by yourself and you feel like you're being discriminated against, you got to have one hell of a compelling case, because most attorneys are not going to pick that suit up. Trust me. I have known plenty of people within the financial industry who felt like they was just being discriminated against, and they've consulted with an attorney and it's like, you don't have a leg to stand on. And it's only those rare cases that we do hear in the news. But for those rare cases where somebody win a lawsuit, there's thousands of other cases that these people lose out on, where they just like, I was wrongfully terminated for some bullshit, but I didn't have the proper representation.
But here's my thing, right? And I get where you're coming from with all of this, but it's hard for me to empathize for employees, because employees will quit and leave your company anytime. You can't sue them. You can't, ask for severance pay, or you can't ask for you can't ask for nothing. Somebody can leave your company anytime and take business from you, or leave you stranded and leave you shorthanded, because maybe their position, you don't have somebody readily available to fill their position. And you're just supposed to be okay with that, no matter what damage it does to your company. But this employee can't take no hits.
Well, dog, like it goes in reverse too. Like I never forget Toys R Us, right? They filed bankruptcy. There was a Toys R Us that closed on Route 22 in Union. Yeah. Is it Union or Springfield? There was an employee there. She was an employee there for 25 years. They let her go. She got zero in regards of a severance package. Like they basically just chewed her out and just say, here you go. Thank you. You on your merry way. But my thing is, let me finish, dog. Right, so my thing is, you got we read the book on the myth of capitalism. You got executive people who basically run the companies to the ground some of the times, and they get these golden parachute package deals, and it's just like, rather than looking out for the people who are going to be unemployed, it's just like, you basically just just hoard all of this money and you basically say, yeah, I'm just going to shut down the company. It is what it is. Or I'm going to relocate the company overseas. Fuck the American people, or fuck this district of employees, and it is what it is. So it goes both ways. You say that employees
No, it doesn't.
It does go both ways, bro.
It doesn't.
It does. All right, when you have a Walmart, again, you got to go back to the book of myth of capitalism.
I remember.
So when you have a Walmart that comes into a region, an area, and they basically just ransack the region area in regards of mom and pop stores. And now this Walmart is the only entity now that is providing jobs.
That's not the discussion that we're talking
about. But it is
but
that is part of the union thing, because it's just like now you become this huge conglomerate and you dominate the marketplace in regards of employment. So therefore there should be some sort of protection, because you decimated the local economy by coming in, and on top of that you receive government abatements to even operate in that area.
Okay, if you're talking about something like a Walmart that comes in and takes over everything, and they've completely annihilated what was already there, I'm not mad. I agree with you on that point. But if there is nothing there, such as where there are areas where Amazon has opened up a distribution center and created 2,500 jobs that did not exist. They didn't take anything from the youth. They didn't take anything from the community. They didn't take anything from people. Nobody lost a job. They created jobs. They created income. Okay. Now, that being said, now I come in, I create, and I say, Bradley, I need you to stuff boxes. For every hour you stuff boxes, I will give you $20. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I pay you that $20. I stick to the deal. The deal is every hour you give me, I pay you $20. Now you've been with me 10, 15 years, and every time you put an hour in, I have exchanged that $20. Now that time is over, you don't say to yourself, you know what? The company is struggling right now. I'll work for free for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
You're right.
No,
that doesn't happen.
You don't give up your time.
Yeah, I don't give up my time.
If you leave the company or if I fire you, you expect me to pay you extra money. That's a one-way street. And that's why companies are fuck you.
Yeah, in that scenario, you're absolutely right. That is a one-way street relationship. I'm just talking about there are times in which you could have a situation like a Walmart come in and it's
and those situations, that's why I said those situations are not relevant to the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in general how things are run. This expectation and entitlement from employees that got a fair exchange for what they came in asking for.
Yeah.
When you got the job, they told you what the job was and what it pays, what the hours were. At any point that you felt the deal changed and you weren't okay with it, fair game. You could walk away. But as long as I'm sticking to the original deal, and then if I come to you and I said, listen, you've been working for me for the last 10 years. You've been doing great. I'm going to give you a raise. I'm changing the deal. Now I'm saying I'm going to pay you more for your time.
Exactly. So I'm kind of screwing myself, tying myself to a union where I could have been rewarded based on my accolades. But because of the union's dues or the union negotiation, you'd be like, you know what? I see. Yeah.
You're in a contract.
Exactly. You're just like, I see Bradley working well, but I'm not going to pay him more because, he's tied into this union, situation.
And that's the thing.
And that happens.
People don't look at it as a deal.
Yeah,
the exchange.
That happens.
And the whole thing is, I always tell people, think of it like this. If you owned a house and you had a painter coming to paint your house, and you're saying, listen, painter, I will pay you $20 to paint my house. And every day he comes in at 8 o'clock, but don't start working until 11, and then he still wants to get paid from the time he walked in the door, you're going to feel salty.
Yeah. All right.
That's how companies feel.
Look, if you were to force me today to give a vote on a union, right now I lean towards no unionship because I do agree. I think it hurts the employees in some capacity, and it hurts the consumer in some capacity.
And you got to look at this one chick that you're talking about that worked 25 years for Toys R Us.
Yeah.
unless Toys R Us is a franchise, which I don't think it is. I think it's a corporation. You are a blip of dust within the entire corporation.
Yeah.
So now because you've been there for 25 years at this one store working as a cashier, we're supposed to write you have a big retirement party for you and pay you out like, what?
Yeah. Now I
see
feel
what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
But that's where that need for that union comes in, because that's 25 years and there's nothing. That didn't just happen with that lady. That shit happened at AT&T. They did motherfuckers like that with AT&T Laboratories shut down, right? They on fucking Clinton.
Once again, but if the deal was for every hour you give me, I give you $20, why is it that when the time is up, now I'm supposed to give you more? I'm supposed to insure you something. You insured me nothing. If my business fails, you have insured me zero.
I insured you nothing, but when you asked me to come in early, I did. When you asked me to stay late, I did.
And I paid you. I compensated you.
Not all the time. Not all the time. I didn't get paid. Don't think that every time. That's
so hold up. So you're telling me? Let him
finish his thought. Let him finish his thought. Let's finish. Yeah.
There are a lot of people who come in early and leave because they want to move up the ladder, but they're not necessarily getting compensated for that shit. You understand what I'm saying? So let's not think that just because you stay late or come in early that you're always getting paid for it. It doesn't work that way. You know how the game works in a fucking corporate America entity. Sometimes you...
So let me get this straight. There's only two types of pay structures. Salary and hourly. So if you come in early and you clock in at 8 o'clock instead of 10 o'clock, I'm not paying you for that 2 hours you came in early? Is that what you're telling me?
If I'm
on salary, 2 hours later,
hourly.
If you're hourly,
if I'm hourly, I should get paid for that. But
exactly.
Listen, I should get paid for that, but it could be something set up to where you let me go earlier. Like there are different layers of that shit, so I'm not just going to.
Okay, but the whole thing is the arrangement.
You're not going to make me say what you want me to say when I'm saying that there are different levels of it. You know what I mean?
Right, so
there are different structures.
I'm sticking.
So look, understand. Like right now, listen, I'm gonna give you an example. Right now, I'm in school, right? I work at a school, and there are people who come in earlier, right? But they leave earlier. They don't get paid any more money. You understand what I'm saying? They just leave earlier, but they come in early. They doing the same salary shit that I'm on.
Yeah, like if you're a salary employee, you're not getting the
salary part.
Yeah.
I was going to get to the salary part. So the whole thing is, once again, the hourly person, if they came in early, 2 hours early, and they left 2 hours early, it's still the same 8-hour structure. It's just it's a little bit earlier versus later. So you're still getting compensated for every hour that you are there, period. You're not being robbed in any way. I'm not asking for more of your time. I'm not paying for more of your time. So you're not getting robbed there. If you're salary, you already know what comes with salary. It means the fact that, listen, I'm paying you to get a job done. This is the range of time I expect you to be here. But if anything beyond this time, you are not getting overtime. You already know that when you're getting a salary. You know that you're trading the opportunity for more money, more financial compensation for the guarantee of stable income. You can't have it all. And that's the thing. Everybody wants to have it all. You want zero trade-off, zero sacrifices, zero risk. And it's just like, the company doesn't get that option.
I get that.
Again, I think that there's certain companies that need unions, just like they have that shit for actors and shit, because they have unions also. That shit
actors do have unions. Yes.
In certain cases, the situation becomes to where I'd rather lose a good person because I'm a bitch. I'd rather lose a good person because I'm an asshole. And because you didn't kowtow and bow, I'd rather lose somebody good. This is why you need fucking unions. I'd rather lose somebody good just because I don't like that. When I asked you to come in on Saturday, you was like, excuse me, I don't work Saturdays.
Okay.
So you understand? So that's I don't work on Saturdays. And you're not that layer of protection to deal with somebody who might be like Black Zeus. That's like, nah, fuck you. You're going. You understand what I'm saying? And you're losing good just because you're waving.
Once again, if my business,
there's no arbitrary judge or anything. It's just you saying that I don't like this person, so they got to get the fuck out of here.
Especially when you have states that has
That's why you need a union, bro.
Well, I gotta ask my wife, but there's states that could willfully terminate you with no explanation. I forgot I forget what it's called.
I get it. But my whole thing is this, right? So if I actually come in on Saturday and you like, I don't work on Saturdays.
At will employment. My wife chimed in. Is at will employment.
Okay. So my whole thing is that if I have a business and I need somebody to come in on Saturday, and I say, Smith, can you come in on Saturday? And you like, I don't work on Saturdays, and I'm just supposed to eat that. So if my business starts to fail because I'm losing business on Saturdays, because Smith don't come in on Saturdays, I'm supposed to be like, oh, well, it's okay, Mr. Smith. I'll see you.
But you probably hold up. But I think as a corporation, I think you negotiate.
Okay, so when my business goes under,
one, you would negotiate it because the other part. You didn't ask me why. You said, "Can I come in on Saturdays?" I'm telling you, I don't do Saturdays.
Exactly.
Why?
Like that's what I'm saying.
I have a family that I have to tend. So you ain't even get to the other part. You just gonna let somebody good go because they can't kowtow and bow to what you want.
And I'm saying, as a business person, you should have negotiated that in the contract with the union. Like, if you think Saturdays,
that's what business owners do. Business owners find themselves getting jammed, and they just want to be like, "Oh, I need you to do this and that," and it's like, nah, bro,
it's like the NFL. Like the NFL, every year the NFL
once again,
negotiates.
All of the responsibility and risk is on the business.
It's not
that employee has no responsibility to say, "Hey, I can't do Saturdays. Saturdays, I'm with my son."
It's a give and take. It's not the employees.
Exactly, and I'm not mad at the give and take. But my whole thing is,
but you can negotiate in that circumstance. If you feel as though that Saturdays are an important business day for you as an employer, negotiate that. That's it.
I only come in Tuesday through Saturday, motherfucker.
Yeah, like you could negotiate that. Like, it's not that, I don't think it's that difficult to negotiate. It's not like unions just straight up suck the employers dry all the time. It's not that. That's not what's happening. I think it's going to be interesting because I think the unions in regards to service jobs is going with the Amazons and the Starbucks is going to be interesting how it plays out. I get what you're saying, Black Zeus, and I definitely hear you. Again, I'm on the fence. If you were to maybe do a vote today, I will probably lean against not being unionized. But there are some compelling stories and arguments and cases that make me say the unions do have a point and their presence are needed. It depends on
to an extent. I agree. All I'm saying is that, you know, in order for both of us to thrive, it has to be a win-win situation. And unions don't create a win-win situation. Unions typically only create a one-way street. That's the thing, is that unions create a one-way street. And the employer has to take all of the risk and all the responsibilities.
But I think it could be a win-win situation, but the win-win for the employer could be you can have better retention. Meaning, like, but that's what I'm saying. Like Amazon.
But here's the thing.
Well, hold on. Let me finish, though. Let me finish. Amazon has a retention problem. So, like, if you could have the unions come in, negotiate better wages or negotiate better labor, like a lot of times it's just not just strictly the expense of having employees. It could also be about the working condition of the company. So, like, a lot of times the unions could negotiate the working conditions and saying, like, yo, I just saw Smith damn near here for 72 hours. We might have a problem here if he fucking collapsed on the job. Because some employers will abuse the shit out of that. They would basically milk someone like a Smith who's going to be like, yo, I'm here all 5 days. I take no sleep. And it's just like, nah, you need that intervention, because all you need as an employer is if something happened to Smith, now you got a lawsuit coming from that family who might say, yo, this happened at the job, and now I'm suing you for millions of dollars. Because in some ways, the unions is actually protecting you as an employer from yourself.
Yeah, but guess what? The company would rather pay out one person a few $1 million than invest $1 million in their employees.
So here's where the pushback is, right? Here's a pushback, because here's the thing. We've all been in the workforce long enough to know that that's idealistic. That if you're assuming that the union is only protecting good employees, your retention may be 20%, 40% shitty employees. It only takes a small handful of people to poison. You know how to say, It takes one bad apple to poison the bunch.
And I get
you
that.
might have 20 good employees, and you want to keep 19 of them because they're good employees. But Smith, he's an asshole. He shows up late. He steals from the company. He does all this fucked up shit, right?
Smith, you're not an asshole. You're a good dude. Go ahead.
So the whole thing is, he may be a shitty employee, but you want to get rid of him. But guess what? He's part of the union. Your union protects him. And the whole thing is, his shitty behavior, his shitty work ethic will be protected by the union. And guess what? The other 19 say, why the fuck am I working so hard? Smith ain't got to show up on time. Smith ain't parking where he's supposed to work. This, that, and the other.
I don't think that's true with all unions, though. I don't think
I'm not saying all unions. I'm talking in general that the whole thing is,
but you're saying they show up late to work. Like nobody's letting a person just keep showing up late to work, and that's acceptable and no job.
Bullshit. One of my clients, she was actually the union representative at her post office. All right, and she was telling me about all the shit that she would have to go through and cover the ass of people that she knew should have been fired, but she had to cover their asses because they were underneath the union.
And like I'm saying, that don't work.
But that is the bullshit that comes with unions.
The union can protect you when you are doing something, right? But this is what I'm saying. If you are showing up late to work, you're not doing your professional duties. The union can't protect people when they're not handling their professional duties. That's what I'm saying. Like,
all right, so think of it like this.
Like when you got somebody out to get you, Black Zeus, that's when the union steps in. When you got somebody trying to fuck you over, that's when they step in. You're not using the union for your own person.
But if you fuck up the union, so you're telling me if you fuck up, the union is not going to step in. The union is not going to protect you. The union is going to leave you out to dry.
My union, no. That's what I'm saying. Like all unions,
exactly.
My union.
So even when you're in the wrong, the union will still protect you.
No, what I'm telling you is my union won't. Is what I'm telling you. They will
maybe your union,
right? You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna listen. If there's no, and that's what I'm saying. Like the lawyer that I was referring to, his name is Eugene List. Like if Eugene ain't got that leg to stand on, he's not fighting for you when you are wrong. I only can fight when you're trying to get fucked over. That's
I've heard that too. I've heard I think our perception in regards of union doing this now, not to say it doesn't happen. But this our perception in regards of union protecting all bad employees is a little bit misguided because I've heard that too. Like it's not as easy as some might make it out to be. Like unions go out and just like you have this overall protection regardless of your quality of work. Like there is some pushback in regards to that. And I said
obviously you can't be the worst.
And again, I would say to just wrap this up, I just say that It's a two-way street again because to the point I was trying to make or highlight is that you had recently a lawsuit with Tesla. Tesla had to pay out a federal case judgment in regards of racial discrimination. A union could chime in and prevent that situation from even getting to the point where someone sues you for millions of dollars. And I think when you compare the number of lawsuits where there's union representation versus to when there's lawsuits versus there isn't union representation. The amount of money you're paying as a company when there's no union representation and you're found guilty in a court proceeding, I wouldn't want to risk that shit as a company. I'd rather deal with the union in that regards, just so that way I don't find myself constantly in legal cases for just something minor. But it's an interesting conversation. We'll see. Unions have seen a decline in the past 40 years. I had a chart up. I don't know if I closed it up, but I had a chart up in regards to unions saw a peak in the 1940s and pretty much it started to see a rescending decline in the 1970s on. A lot of it is due to companies saying, you know what, I ain't trying to deal with unions. I'm out shipping this job to Mexico or overseas and shit like that. So, I think we're in a different era. I don't think outsourcing job is going to be as easy with a company like Amazon or Starbucks because those are service jobs. So you can't outsource service jobs all too well. So we'll see how this impacts going in the future. All right. I want to revisit this story with our very own state in New Jersey last week. You Black Suits were pissed off. You Smith were pissed off. And there's a follow-up this week. So this is from Fox News. New Jersey Governor Murphy distanced himself from second graders learning gender identity, call age appropriate content. The New Jersey governor seemed to soften his resistance to criticism of the state recently leaked gender education materials. Murphy recognized for the first time Wednesday undesirable lessons plans in the state school system. The governor previously said he's willing to entertain the proposed gender identity lessons, adding that parents should have some say in the matter. In his most recent statement, the governor has gone a step further, explicitly acknowledged an unspecified handful of sample lesson plans that his office requests be discarded. However, Murphy still blames the majority of the backlash to the lessons on intentional misrepresented appraisals by political opponents. Unfortunately, our learning standards have been intentionally misrepresented by some politicians seeking to divide and score political points. Murphy wrote Wednesday. At the same time, we have seen a handful of sample lessons plans being circulated that have not been adopted in our school districts and do not currently accurately reflect the spirit of the standards. So what do you guys feel about Governor Murphy's reversal, or at least
he's a fucking politician. He saw that his numbers was dipping with that bullshit and he reversing course. But at the end of the day, there is no lesson that you can do for second graders on this shit, bruh. You understand? That's why I leave that shit alone. It's not supposed to be in school. There is no lesson you can do. That's why he said, oh, there was a handful of sample lesson plans that my office said, we got to just discard this regardless because this shit don't seem right. Yeah. So you're basically going to be teaching, some of that shit was basically pornographic that you're trying to fucking teach second graders. That's why it don't seem right. Trying to teach some shit that's pornographic. I already know it's pornographic in nature because how the fuck do you teach that to kids that young? And then go on to it. The standard listed performance expectations for second graders.
Yeah.
So they got a standard list that your performance expectation is that you got to be able to have a range of ways to express gender and how gender role stereotypes may limit how you behave in an environment. Are you fucking shitting me? Take that shit off the books, man. He got to go back and throw all that shit in the garbage. You know what I mean? Teach about motherfucking bullying. Go back to that shit. Just teach about bullying. That's all. If nobody bullies, we all can live as how we want to live. We could be fairies. We could be fucking sky daddies. We could be whatever the fuck we want to be.
He said,
damn, son. What?
Like,
you be whatever the fuck we want to be.
Unmute yourself, brother. He said, I'd rather you guys learn about being a fairy before you deal with this pornographic shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man. Nah, while Black Zeus figure out how to unmute himself.
Go all the way down. I was still reading down. They want to ensure that it's age-appropriate content. Yeah. What age-appropriate content do you teach your second grader about sex?
It really starts at kindergarten. But, yeah, the second grade stuff is where it gets really dicey.
Yeah, because now you got to talk more.
Yeah, exactly. Like
level builds up. So what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Again, like I said last week, you want me to expedite this birds and bees conversation with my children.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to do that?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to have that be a conversation at the dinner table? Why are you trying to do that?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Go ahead, brother.
I was having some issues with my touch screen. Well, Smith made a couple of valid points. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like he didn't look at any of this curriculum prior to moving forward with this. Like that just seems real asinine. You know, the whole thing is like, what was going through his head to make him think that second graders are on this level? Like somebody that is like still trying to figure out like if Superman could beat, Batman. You're trying to. I can't.
Bro, I remember in second grade having an argument about
is Flash is faster than Superman and shit.
Bruh,
exactly. Like
when I was in second grade,
discussion.
My argument was, could Bruce Lee beat Jean-Claude Van Damme? Because
Exactly.
that was my conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Like,
That was the depth of your conversation.
yeah.
So what made you
That's
think?
it.
And here's the thing. This is the thing that really bothers me about this. Is that we already know, statistically speaking, that 99% of us are good with what we were born as. But because 1% of us isn't good with it, and instead of saying that 1% needs to go and get some personal issues worked out or figure that shit out for themselves, we need to tell the other 99%, hey, have you ever second guessed? Have you ever rethought this thing about who you are, what you are, or accepted? You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. That's the part that blows my mind. It's like, we're going to completely tell the other 99%, maybe you're not what you think you are.
Yes.
I know you've been walking around with this schlong all of your life, but maybe you don't have to be that.
Yeah.
I know you've been walking around with these mammary glands and this uterus, but maybe, no. Once again, these are things that are personal. When it comes to your quote unquote gender expression, comes to your sexual preferences, this is your issue. Nobody else should have to deal with this shit. That's you. Like Smith said, we should just focus on, hey, little Jimmy over there likes to wear pink dresses. All the rest of you boys who like to play football, leave Jimmy alone. If he wants to wear pink dresses, let him wear pink dresses.
Exactly.
That should be the only discussion. Let him live his life. Let each live his own. But to say, all you boys on the football team, maybe you should be playing football. Maybe you should think about wearing a dress.
Yeah.
Miss me that.
I find Murphy's, to your point, fuck Murphy, but that's just me personally about I feel about other politics. But in regards to like his disingenuous statement regarding how he feels as though that the material is being misrepresented by his political opponents. Yeah. I'm like, dog, that's some you're lying in regards to how you feel like parents genuinely will feel about this shit. Of course, everything is politics. So if I am someone who is on the other aisle and I see a weakness in your strategy, of course I'm going to exploit it. But I think this goes beyond politics, honestly, because I read other reports where you had people who align as Democratic having issues with this sort of thing. So it's just, I feel like he was very out of touch in regards of making that statements and not necessarily understanding like, parents do not want to have this happen with their child without their blessing first. And like no one, like to Smith's point, it's just like, you're not going to have this conversation before me, point blank, period.
It's not even just have this conversation before me. It's just the fact that school is not the place for it.
School is not the place.
It is a place of academia.
Yeah.
And the bigger thing is that, like Black Zeus said, y'all ain't look at the fucking curriculum. Y'all want to implement it in September.
Yeah.
And we have to have standards to our shit. We got NJSLA, New Jersey Learning Standards and shit that you have to have to everything that you're teaching. So they don't even know what the standards are for this shit. You just said, we're going to do this and we want to implement it in September, and then you got a way of rolling it out, which means you're going to be having some bullshit introduced to children.
Yeah, but
I got a big because guess what my son goes to? And y'all know I'm on this shit. He's going to second grade.
Not to throw you underneath the bus, Smith. Not to throw you underneath the bus, but just pulling receipts from last week. Remember our discussion? Should parents be able to have a viewpoint into what the curriculum is being taught to their kids? And you said leave it to the professionals. That's leaving it to the professionals.
No. This not leaving. Whoa. Stop. Governor,
let me just make my point. Let me make my point, and then
this is a politician. That's not the professionals.
Hold up. No,
stop.
Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it civil.
Let me finish my point.
Opponents are saying this.
Yeah.
Okay. Opponents are saying this. Teachers aren't saying this.
All right.
Are you done?
Smith, let him finish his point. And then you can retort. You can retort, Smith, afterwards.
Mm-hmm. All right. That politician, he's not getting his information from some sort of educating a group or organization that's saying, oh, you should teach this, that, and the other?
He's getting it from parents who want to vote for him, and he wants their vote.
No. Here's my thing.
Yes.
But who came up with the curriculum, Smith? Who came up with the curriculum? Parents?
No. Look. Listen, they want teachers to try to come up with a curriculum, and that's why it's a problem with the curriculum, because teachers don't want to do this shit, bruh. Trust what I'm telling you. This is coming from, where does this say anything about teachers involved in this?
So you remember
wait, look at the article we got.
No.
Where does this say anything about teachers being involved in this process? All you hear is parents and fucking political opponents and the governor. Where the teachers?
Well, I think
there are other smaller components, Smith, that operate. It's not just like he sits up there and come up with all the shit on his own. He has constituents. He has people underneath him.
He got a lot of politicians, and none of these people. Again, I'm going to keep saying this. How many?
You're going to tell me he just sits up there and comes up with this stuff with no advisory, no one in the education,
listen. Let me say this though. Most people who make decisions on education have never been in the education field. Most people who make decisions on the American education system have never taught. They've only been students.
Agreed.
We're not going to do this. We're not going to do this.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I'm 23
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Most people have only been in education on the student side, never on the other side, besides maybe thinking about teaching their children something. But look, when we let parents decide what they want to teach their children, you see what happens. They want to teach their children about gender identity.
Okay,
that shit is coming from parents. That shit is not coming from teachers saying, hey, you know what? We're scratching our head and we're saying a lot of gender identity and we need to talk about it and deal. That's not coming from the teachers, bro.
Yeah, I think there's a middle ground.
I want you to do me a favor. Google the Knowles organization, okay?
Hold on. Go ahead, Black Zeus. Finish that, and then I want to.
This is one of the organizations that informs school systems, educators, superintendents on what they should do with their curriculum. That's how you get stuff like the new math instituted, because somebody did. But hold on, let me finish. You said your part. Let me finish before you rebut. These organizations come up with their own studies, their own little profiles, this, that, and the other, and they present it to your superintendents. They present it to your teachers. They're the ones that come up with your CEUs and your continuing educational credits and this, that, and they're the ones that come up with the curriculum that they teach you in colleges. You know, they're the ones that are giving you this information. All right. I know because I have family who works in these organizations, and that's what they do for a living. Is that these uppity woke PC people sit up there and with their doctorates and this, that, and the other, thinking they know every goddamn thing, and they come up with all these ideas and suggestions, this, that, and the other, and they come and teach it to your superintendents.
I'm glad
they're the ones that are advising your politicians and so forth and so on. It's not. I'm not saying it's the teachers. So my whole thing is, it's like. That's my point.
That's what I'm telling you. They got.
Let me finish my point, Smith. Shut up. Let me finish. My point is the fact of that the people who make all these decisions are not you. If it was you, a parent can have a conversation with you and be like, "Well, Mr. Smith, I don't agree with you teaching my second grade child to do art of naked women." And you might have a little bit of a viewpoint on that and be like, you know what, Mr. Johnson, I agree with you. Or Mr. Johnson, here's why I do that. But it goes above your head. It goes above your head. You have to answer to a superintendent, like you said, who has no teaching background, politicians who have no teaching background, who are getting this stuff from these organizations, and they're telling you, no, Mr. Smith, this is how you must teach. And if you don't teach this way, or if you don't teach according to whatever our standards are, then we have a problem with you.
And then they will reduce federal funding.
The politicians.
It's not you. I'm not saying it's you as a teacher. I'm saying these greater systems that play a part above your pay level.
All right,
do you follow what I'm saying now?
Simon Smith, and I want to at least clean this all up.
What I'm saying is that's still bullshit. Most of the textbooks, not most of them, all the textbooks come from fucking Texas. They've been coming from Texas for a long while. There aren't people like me writing these textbooks. That's why we still talk about Christopher Columbus in history books in 2022. So, like, at the end of the day, bullshit, I'm going to call once. Bullshit, I'm going to call twice. You can have people that's working in those fields. My superintendent actually was a principal and a teacher. I'm not talking about a superintendent. I'm talking about people who have not been in the field of education. And just getting a doctorate in education doesn't make you being in the field of it. You understand?
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I go through school, and I can never touch Phil and put my feet in the dirt of education. So,
yeah.
So who came up with the new math?
Again, this all bullshit. You know what I mean? You got people that's sitting in the silo. These are not people that's sitting before kids to know what kids want. You got,
and I agree with you.
You got parents that are saying, this is what our children want, and this is what we want to give our children. You got parents saying that.
Well, let me just clean this up.
That's the problem. Parents are saying what they want their children to have. But guess what?
So you're telling me
if my child is in the same class, if my child is in the same class, I don't want my child to learn about gender equality in the second grade.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Let me chime in.
Billy's mom does want her son to learn that. So there is no place for that. And again, they talk about implementing this shit and talking about September, and they don't even have a curriculum for it.
And I think you guys are speaking to each other. Well, you guys are definitely speaking to each other, and there is a middle ground between what both of you are saying. I don't think a lot of parents are on board with this, and I think to what Black Zeus is mentioning is this is coming from people of the Department of Education who are supposedly highly credentialed, but they've never stepped foot in the classroom. They've never really interacted not only with these students, but these students' parents, and they're basically presenting these subject matters or these curriculums as thinking that they're being progressive and moving the needle forward. And I think this is what Black Zeus is saying, is just like he's not targeting you, but he's saying like this is why parents need to have to say, because it's not that the parents are trying to target the teachers. The parents are trying to target the curriculum that is coming from these people who occupy these seats in the Department of Education, because they're the one
targeted. But what I'm saying is,
but that's what I'm saying. He's not targeting you per se. I don't think he's saying he's targeting teachers.
But guess what? The Department of Education ain't coming up with this shit, and that's the problem that I'm trying to get you all to understand. It's not coming from the Department of Education.
But he's directing Murphy's.
Look. The key thing, Murphy is directing the Department of Education to review standards and provide further clarification on what age-appropriate guidelines look like for our students.
But the curriculum
coming from the Department of Education.
But the curriculum is coming from the Department of Education. Like this, that's where the curriculum is coming from.
The curriculum is coming from somebody who's writing this shit in the silo, bruh.
Correct,
their job is to give it to the department, right? And then the department has to review. The department don't even know what standards. They don't even know what age appropriate is right now. That's what I'm saying.
But that's because of the backlash. But what I'm saying is,
it ain't because of the backlash. It's because they don't know what age appropriate is.
Of course, but it's because. But dog.
How old are you and when were you taught sex education? Like, it's
you're right.
About you.
But you're absolutely right, Smith. That's my point. Is the fact that it's coming from somebody in the silo. It's not coming from a teacher on the ground.
That's all I'm saying. I agree.
And that's what I'm saying. That's his point. That's what Schumer's point is. His point is it's not coming. He's not directing the teachers. He's just basically saying like, yo, this is coming from a silo of people who are occupying the seats within the Department of Education who are coming up with the curriculum. So
they're not teachers.
But then
they're not educators.
Of course, and he's not denying that.
I know, and I agree. You trying to have me go back to agree with something? I already agree with him.
No, but
we're already on the same page.
But but the point that I think Black Zeus is making is a fair point. He's saying that this is why parents need a huge intervention in the curriculum because teachers like you do not have a say on the curriculum and is being taught. He's saying like, yo, this needs to be intercepted. And I don't know if you watched the news clip that I sent last week. a Fox representative, parents, a representative of a community in New Jersey. There are a lot of parents who are not on board with this shit. I said this earlier. This is coming from the left, people who are aligning themselves as Democratic, and this is people who are aligning themselves as independent, and people who are aligning themselves as Republican. There are parents across the board who are not in agreement with this, and
that's why it needs to go on a ballot, and parents need to vote, and they need to vote this shit down.
But that's why, and that's to Black,
that's my point.
At the end of the
and
day,
that's Black Zeus' point.
One of the key parts that people are, but I'm saying vote it down. That's not the curriculum. You don't have to say so in a curriculum.
But you're having a say in the curriculum if you're voting it down.
Listen, it's not the same thing, bro. It's not the same thing. You're getting it twisted. Having a say in the curriculum means I sit down at the table, right? You see this book? See this book that says Rise in Second Grade? It got a whole curriculum in here, right? My son going to second grade. I'm telling you, I'm doing this shit. I live this shit. So listen when I'm talking. Trust me. Just hear me out.
Okay.
He's going to second grade, right? This is the curriculum. This shit don't have nothing
Why
about.
Why is it pink though?
This has nothing about sex in it. All right. Yeah. First of all, this is not from my son's school because my son's school is beneath him. So let's get that. That's like
damn.
Let's come on now. You want to talk about it? This from when my daughter was in
son. Where'd you find this?
I'm just saying, like, I do this education shit, so it ain't from New Brunswick. They got a
wow.
Like, let's not go there. But he only goes there because my ex-wife wanted to keep him out there on some bullshit because she don't understand education. Like I said, I'm a seasoned. This is what the fuck I do. So they didn't have any say-so on this, right? And the thing about this is now we're getting caught up in the minutia of this shit and talking about second graders. You all said that this was implemented for the whole school. This means K through 12. So what does the fucking 12th grade look like? You understand? Like, you ain't going to catch me up in just the second grade. What does the whole curriculum look like? A K through 12 curriculum on gender identity and fucking state sex guideline. What does that look like?
In 12th grade, you watching Janet Jack me. But go ahead.
See, they trying to get you caught up in this.
I hate you.
Oh, it's just second graders. Nah, we ain't beat for that shit. It's bullshit. And it don't have any place. And they need to put it on the thing so people can vote it down because nobody wants their child learning this unless they are that parent. And I don't know.
They're part of that community.
I haven't met that parent that's part of that community that says this is the thing.
Exactly.
And when I do, because I do ask, I'm telling y'all I ask. Yeah. And when I do, I will bring it to the table. Because I want to meet somebody who's from that community.
Well, we know the community would not be said on here. We know the community that tend to advocate for these sort of things.
Is it the 3-mom community?
I will.
Wow.
I am silent on that one.
Or the 4 dad.
I'm not touching that one.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what about to be.
That's nuclear. I'm not touching.
My son going to second grade. I'm not beat. I'm not beat for the bullshit. My son
we all not beat, but we know the community and the letters affiliated.
We can listen. They made weed legal, and you can buy that shit officially in New Jersey.
Bruh, don't jump my stories, bro.
No, I ain't jumping you Thursday. But we listen. That's fine. But my son got to be told that he could have a schlong and be a girl. Fuck out of here. That's not cool. That's not cool at all. That's not cool. That shit is not cool. And I know people like, well, if you're such a tough dad or such a touch father, then your son shouldn't be like that. He shouldn't be. No, y'all trying to introduce some shit to my son that shouldn't be introduced to him.
Yeah.
That's like me giving my son an acid dab in second grade.
At the end of the day, it's like we've all known over decades, over centuries, whatever the case may be, is that little Johnny that wants to wear a pink dress, he gonna wear a pink dress.
Exactly.
All right, we don't need to do all of this. Like,
exactly.
Kids sort themselves out. The geeks always end up with the geeks. The jocks end up with the jocks. The cheerleader girls end up with the cheerleaders. The you know what I mean? Like, everybody kind of
find themselves. Black Zeus. They find themselves. Yes.
It's not for the school to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
All the school has to do is make sure that they all accept each other and live in peace.
Exactly. That's it. That they all accept each other and live in peace. That's all. Just that they accept each other.
I agree. I agree. All right. Well, look, I think we probably should transition into this book. Shit. I had so much other news stories, but we could touch on this for the sake of touching on.